Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Rabbit Hole podcast. I am your host, CSD Fantasy. Hello, Fantasy faithfuls, and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Rabbit Hole podcast. My name is CSD Fantasy, and I'm flanked by the one and only Nick Faber and the coin master, man of the people. He's a better person than me. Last minute Matt Williams. How are y'all doing?
I'm great.
I'm a floating head of I'm a floating circle.
You're floating. That's your.
I am now I'm like the living force. I am now the essence of fantasy football. My essence has been created back into the universe, and now I'm just here floating.
It was like you were fighting like Michael Fabiano, and you're like, if you strike me down, Fabs, I shall become even more powerful than you could ever imagine.
Why Michael Fabiano?
He's like a big name, Vader, Fabs, like a big name in the industry.
He's probably my favorite fantasy football analyst out of everyone and anyone. I trust him probably more than anyone else.
I think I would say Nick Faber is my favorite analyst.
Come on.
And in baseball,
I
Mike
trust
Williams.
No one. You're all fools.
And that's our Matt Williams, man of the people.
You're all.
Yeah. Well, for anyone actually wondering why I'm a floating head, over here in New Jersey, we got a severe tornado warning that car landed on my neighbor's. A car landed on my neighbor's tree. A tree landed on my neighbor's car and power's out. So again, floating head Matt from the iPhone, but apparently my audio's good. So again, go iPhone, no Wi-Fi. I got the nice signal here during the tornado.
You definitely scared me when you started out with a car fell on my neighbors, and I was about to be like, holy crap, we got a Twister situation going on.
I know, like that is a legit tornado.
Get Helen Hunt in here. Watch out for the spinning cows and get the heck out of Dodge, man. But, okay, tree on the car, that sucks, but not as bad.
Do y'all remember that cartoon named Louie? It was like a kid growing up in Wisconsin.
Wasn't Louis, who was the actor? He did like all the voices, didn't he? Or he did like
maybe did
the adult.
I think he was the host of Family Feud for a little while, I think.
He's like the, a little bit bigger guy. But yeah, I know exactly what show you're talking about. Yep.
That was the first time I've ever was introduced to a tornado because we don't get them at home. And I'm like, what the crap's going on? Like, that show had like a tornado going. I remember that episode. And everyone had like cheese heads.
Wow. There is some shit coming out of this cartoon. I don't think it's real.
Yeah, like
tornado.
I think it was a cow flying by, in like you were saying. That's why it reminded me of it. Fantastic cartoon.
Right.
Fantastic cartoon, and we do have a fantastic show here for you today, but feel free to interrupt at any point in the live chat. We are here to serve. But before we get into today's show, I would like to remind you to hit that like button. Please share it on social media to help us get the word out there. Subscribe if you haven't done so, and check out csdfantasy.com for even more content. But now, to the news.
The news.
The news, that voice drop from you, Matt, it just gets better and better, honestly. Unfortunately, the news, there's, in my opinion, only really one news item that is worth talking about, and I would like to say that in the light of everything that's going on, and speaking as someone who will father mixed kids, please take a moment to reflect on the issues in front of us and what the true meaning behind all of this is. Listen more than you speak and try to hear what's being said and why it's being said. This is not a political issue, as some people want to make it out to. It's about life and death, and that is never something that should be taken lightly or spun for political points. And that's all I'm going to say about this issue. I would like to listen more than I speak, so that's it on that. And I will let people who are well more into the situation than me speak on it. And on a lighter note, instead, touch on Carlos Hyde, who signed with the Seattle Seahawks. Is there any implication for Chris Carson? Nick, what do you think?
Not so much. I mean, Carlos Hyde is not really a guy that I'm worried about no matter where he goes. If he went to a situation like Houston, I would be kind of happy for him because he would be the lead guy. But here he's not. I'm hearing a nice echo too, so I'm trying to power through that. I feel like if Rashad Penny is the guy that you need to worry about, right? Like he is. If you're a guy now or if you're an owner of Rashad Penny in a dynasty league, you're worried. You're nervous. They spent a first-round draft pick on him. You thought the capital was there. You could get him at a really low rate earlier this year, last year. And as I am an owner in dynasty of Penny, I'm nervous for that. Chris Carson, I think he takes a couple notches down, but I'm not expecting Carlos Hyde to walk in and get 10 touches a game. I'm just not expecting that.
Yeah, and it's the only thing. Chris Carson's coming back from injury. Carlos Hyde, the only thing that bothers me a little bit with the signing is that they actually bring in I don't want to call Carlos Hyde a name brand, but he's still a person that I'm gonna fear a little bit to steal a few targets from Chris Carson when both of them are healthy, to the point, not a Kareem Hunt situation, but enough for me to be like, are we back to running back by committee in Seattle? That's a little uncomfortable, in my opinion. What do you think, Matt, on that?
I think Carlos Hyde was a pain in the ass for anyone who was very interested in getting Duke Johnson shares last year. I think Carlos Hyde was going to be a pain in the ass if he had stayed in Kansas City. For Damian Williams, if he was healthy, I think that Carlos Hyde himself is not very useful, but I think he has all of the makings to be a nightmare for fantasy football. I mean, you said Rashad Penny's already there. It's just, I think I said this on some of the other shows that we've done, and I'm just not interested in that situation. We've seen what Chris Carson can do, but he's never actually had a situation where Rashad Penny was necessarily in the game plan and healthy and in the good graces of Pete Carroll all at the same time. He may have that event, finally this year, and Carlos Hyde is also there, who, if nothing else, stays healthy ish. So yeah, I think this will have an impact on Chris Carson. But the only impact is it just makes me want to go in a different direction, because there's not going to Chris Carson has such a high upside that he's not going to be getting discounted enough for me to be interested. So yeah, essentially no, I don't. I think there is an impact, and the only impact is me not wanting Carson at this point.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up real quick in regards to Carson too. Like, let's just put it in perspective. It's definitely probably going to hurt Chris Carson, right? Carlos Hyde, as Matt just said, is a perfect way to put it. He's just a pain in the rear end everywhere he goes. Chris Carson right now is going second pick, fourth round. Behind him is David Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Ingram, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Kareem Hunt, Sonny Michel. The list goes on. Like, you put Chris Carson still in front of all those guys. Like for me, I would go with Mostert, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Ingram probably over Chris Carson, but I don't know if I'll go with Montgomery over Carson.
Would you go like Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, but he's got a higher ADP. But yeah, I would definitely draft Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, I'm looking at non-PPR. My bad.
Yeah, he's really hot. He's freaking second round in non-PPR. I also was looking at that, but I don't think anyone's played standard since 1994. So.
Oh no, I've changed all my rankings to PPR because you gave me so much hate for it.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man, I kind of miss giving you the slack about it though. Like, for you to be like, not me. I'm in one standard league, and I was gonna be like, okay, well, you and Grandpa Jim over there can play. I'm just joking.
And play standard. I was such a huge fan of half point PPR that I made everything for standard, and then I could just do a separate PPR and figure it out. But now apparently everything is PPR, so I have to go with the flow and all of that fun stuff.
Half point PPR is still like, that's the two. Like, half point PPR I feel is more realistic. Standard with Grandpa Jim, we all got one. I know. Yeah, I don't know. Standard, no one works, but half point PPR, that's the way to go in fantasy.
Yeah, but so in PPR, you were saying that Chris Carson is now like in the fourth, right?
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Like, I would rather go Raheem Mostert over Chris Carson in the fourth. Jonathan Taylor is getting that. That's a little rich for me.
Jonathan Taylor, Chris Carson.
I'd rather go with Carson over that one. We have Matt, who's a huge Taylor fan, but would you go Taylor in the fourth over Chris Carson?
My official answer is non-wavering, and that's I've already drafted my running backs before this crappy tier of nightmares, because there's this confusing area we're talking about and all the solid talents before it, but then there's people after it where you can get a value on Phillip Lindsay, and you can try to dip into like the David Johnson type nightmares. So I think I would rather have tied up my running backs before or get my third or fourth running back, whatever have you, after this. But if I had my choice between the three, yeah, I actually think I would rather take a shot on Jonathan Taylor. Hopefully, I would have already given myself enough breathing room where I could afford to fail on that. But yeah, I think Mostert and Carson, they're just a couple of guys that, as well as Mostert ended, he ended kind of the way Damian Williams kind of ended, where he's going to have a lot of hype going into the next year. You're not really sure how many snaps he'll get, and the team that loves to switch the ball around, even though they did trade Matt Breida. So, and Carson has plenty to play for, people around him too. So yeah, I do think Jonathan Taylor, even with Marlon Mack in the backfield, is someone I'd rather have. But I at that price, like if you actually like made me choose who's going to be the best running back in half-point PPR at the end of the year, I'd probably still say Chris Carson if you made me choose, but I don't want it. I don't want any of them though.
You'd rather gamble on the upside there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm adding anyone there, it'll be for upside. If I'm probably not going to be in a situation where I struck out at running back where I'm going to need Mostert or Carson. So yeah, the long story is I'm probably not going to be dipping into this tier at all, and for good reason. Taylor is very, very risky as a rookie, and Mostert and Carson come with their question marks. All three could pay off similarly as far as, if Carson were to have a full-time job. We've seen what he can do. We've seen what Mostert can do, and we can imagine what Taylor can do. It's just a matter of team construction.
And it's a lot of those teams out there right now. You have, even for instance, I'm not a big Jordan Howard fan, but he's out there being a shadow of Matt Breida and just hoping that Breida can't stay healthy. And then you have him, but you have that two-headed monster. You have the Chubb and Kareem Hunt, Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde now. There's more and more of these 1-2 punches that are, I don't want to call them, like I said, I don't want to call them name brand, but they're name brand enough to where it's like, it's a little bit uncomfortable to assume that we know exactly who the main guy is. It's not Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard.
Hey, where's Matt Breida going in drafts, by the way? Because again, if we wanted to throw him into this, I'm assuming he's going well enough behind the other guys where I think I'd rather take a shot on Breida, who has a clear path. I mean, he has Jordan Howard, who showed he can be a Carlos Hyde type nightmare. But if Breida was healthy, I kind of like his situation the best.
Oh, he's in the 8th right now, and just FYI, when he's healthy, he is literally the most productive running back in terms of yards per carry there is just that health issue that just keeps looming over him. And his running style is just so amazing, where he runs the ball and where he's efficient, like right straight up the middle, and then decent outside the guards and outside the tackles, and then really, really freaking good outside when you line up a tight end for him. And it's something that I look for in a really strong running back, is being good everywhere, but then having the middle and outside of tight ends as your strong sides, especially to the right side of the field, where teams usually are a little bit more pass rush heavy with their left end. He tends to go for the quarterback a little bit more and be less of a run stopper. Not everybody can be Tank Lawrence, who can do both. And that leads to a little bit more room for the right side for the running back. So somebody like Breida is very good at carrying to the right. Just stay healthy, and I'm going to draft you in freaking every team. Every team, I would draft him.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick. So there's a bunch of things. First and foremost, Breida, he's a great situation. Jordan Howard gives me I'm not scared of Jordan Howard or Patrick Laird in any way, shape, or form. It's definitely
ask Miles Sanders about that.
Ooh, Miles Sanders is going to be a top 9 running back this year.
I meant last year's Miles Sanders.
Well, he's a rookie. Rookie running backs don't just come on the scene, burst out. It's rare. I mean, some do. Kareem Hunt did pretty damn good his rookie year, and there's players that do, but most time rookie running backs aren't as exciting as we all want to make it out to seem like.
1 out of 4. 1 out of 4.
1 out of 4
is decent. 1 out of 4 is going to be good. The other 3 are going to be useless. But keep going, Nick. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Another thing I want to say is I'm almost starting to fall into the pattern of wide receiver, and then hit up these third, fourth, fifth round running backs because of guys like Raheem Mostert. For some reason, I don't know why you guys are scared of Jerick McKinnon and Tevin Coleman, the two oldest injury-prone running backs known in NFL history. I am in no way nervous. It's not the Raheem Mostert show. Until the injury bug creeps up on him, it is literally going to be his ride, and they're going to run it. Not to say that Tevin.
Well, hold on. The main issue was, remember the beginning of last year, what did people think of Raheem Mostert? The fact is that they can pull a Raheem Mostert out of their ass in San Francisco. It could be someone we don't even know. They could meet. Pete Carroll met someone during quarantine who's going to be the fifth running back. He'll end up being the starter. That's the problem. It's not the talent; it's the scheme, and they use a lot of bodies. That's me. It's just I like Mostert, but his price for his past and everything, it's more the scheme. You just know they're going to pan for gold and find someone to take carries from him.
The fourth round is not too rich. The fourth round is not too rich to get this running back who could be the lead running back on a San Francisco team that was the best running team. And it doesn't matter who it was. You're right. It can be anyone. And by week 9, Raheem Mostert might not be the guy. But hopefully you saw the pattern coming up and you got that running back coming up behind him. It's not going to be Tevin Coleman and it's not going to be Jerick McKinnon. I can promise you that. But it definitely can't promise you it won't be some random UDFA Boogie Williams from last year or something. I don't know. But I love Raheem Mostert.
And we've seen Kyle Shanahan do it with 2 running backs and have both be viable in fantasy with Tevin Coleman and Devonta Freeman in Atlanta. So it's not a totally out of the blue concept. And for what it's worth, I'm actually agreeing with you on Mostert, Nick. And if you like, I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole a little bit because I feel like we've gone down with the way Matt said it so many times because we believe there's so much value on the wide receiver position in rounds 4 and 5. But if you go wide receiver in round 4, in 1 and 2, who would be your favorite back to get in the third round then of Fournette, Gurley, Johnson, Gordon, and Bell?
There's a ton of them, right? And if you look at the first round, I'm going to get to something before I get to that answer. First round after McCaffrey, Barkley, Derrick Henry, very risky this year. A lot of touches. Kamara showed he can be a bust. Zeke, a lot of touches. A great backup behind him. Delvin Cook, injury prone. Joe Mixon, injury prone. Kenyon Drake, nothing. We don't know. Like we saw last year, but was it a one-year wonder? And then you get like Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb. I mean, those are pretty good running backs. But I'm just saying the top freaking 8 running backs, 3 through 8, are all kind of scary. And I don't want to put my top pick on a Joe Mixon with Joe Burrow or a Delvin Cook, with Alex Madison behind him. Even Zeke, even Kamara, even Henry, all those scare me. At that point, give me a wide receiver if I'm drafting basically anywhere between 3 and 9 in the first round. If I can get away with like a Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders double up in the end, sure. But to get to your question, so say I go wide receiver, you get to the third round. I love Fournette. I love Le'Veon Bell. Those are my top 2 guys right there I see immediately. Todd Gurley is right behind it with David Johnson, Melvin Gordon. I will take the chance in the third round on one of these veteran running backs. In that order is the way I would do it, respectfully. And then in the fourth round, you have James Conner. You have the marking of Raheem Mostert, Chris Carson. Those guys we're talking about. In the 5th and 6th, you can even go 4 straight running backs because we all know even Marvin Jones is still available in the freaking 8th round because wide receivers go so deep. So in the 5th round, you can end up getting Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift. Then you can get Keyshawn Vaughn. You can get Damian Williams, J.K. Dobbins, Marlon Mack, Ronald Jones. Like those guys aren't going to be like great, but as a 4th running back, and I'm not like sitting on the edge of my seat like having Keyshawn Vaughn. I think he's going to be better than Ronald Jones. And if I don't, I'll draft Ronald Jones. I think one of those running backs in Tampa Bay offense are going to be successful. Like right now, the way the ADP is laid out, I think it's kind of fun to go wide receiver early. Get your staples because we all know Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Nuke, like Devontae Adams. I don't mean to leave out even Kenny Galladay, Adam Thielen. Like I love all those guys. You can get them in
Cortland Sutton.
Well, I'll get him in the 7th if he's still there.
You guys are literally shooting your own point in the foot here. You're naming all of the reasons not to go wide receiver in the 1st and 2nd round. You literally said you'd be fine with David Johnson and James Conner as your top 2 running backs. That was literally all you needed to tell most people to tell them that's a horrible plan. I mean, I love the theory. Everything you said made sense. And it's fun. You said it was fun, but I don't think it's wise because, give me Mixon and Sanders in the first 2 rounds. I will clean up Galladay and Sutton in the 3rd and 4th. Like, I think it's just a much better way to go is running back, wide receiver, because it is deep. I don't want to rely on Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson.
But do you want to rely on Mixon and Sanders?
I would feel much better than that I think going running back, wide receiver is going to net you a team that you can feel better about than any of the. I mean, I will take Mixon and Sanders well above any of the other guys we're talking about.
Running back,
I think you overvalue Miles Sanders by a lot. Philly has not really been a one running back team. I think you overvalue him a lot and overvalue what they think of him. I'm scared to draft Miles Sanders as a top 2 running back for my team. I'm okay with Mixon, and I know, Nick, you're in love with Miles Sanders. Y'all two gonna get a summer house together and live happily ever after. But I really don't want to go Miles Sanders in round 2. I'd much rather go with Austin Eckler, who doesn't really have that much competition. I even go Leonard freaking Fournette before I go Miles Sanders. And y'all
I would be fine with that too. I consider him a 2nd round guy, not a 3rd round guy though.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette being a 3rd. Wait, you consider Leonard Fournette being a 2nd round guy? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would take Leonard Fournette in the 2nd round. I don't even consider him a 3rd round guy.
Sits in the 3rd round. Going by ADP, if you can end up getting him in the 3rd round, and then double that with a Raheem Mostert or even James Conner, who is going to be extremely successful this year, and I'm glad everyone does not think so because
where are you getting him in the 3rd round?
Leonard Fournette's first pick, 3rd round. So you'd have to have
that means you already have a running back because there's no way you picked 1st, 2nd, 3rd overall and skipped a running back.
Wide receiver, get Leonard Fournette. So I'm just not saying you have to double up on running backs, and it's good to go at least running back, wide receiver if you're in that 1st, 2nd, in my opinion. Get a staple wide receiver over a shot in the dark running back, because that shot in the dark on Miles Sanders or Austin Eckler, in all honesty, is just as good as that shot in the dark on Jonathan Taylor or Raheem Mostert, easily. And you're spending light years more for those two. Austin Eckler could be injured by week 4. We don't know what we didn't see him do a whole workload for a whole year. We saw him do a pretty good job in the beginning of it with Phillip Rivers. Now you throw in Tyrod Taylor, and you think he'd be just as good. I disagree. Miles Sanders.
Get my dollar ready, by the way.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Hey, by the way, I don't disagree with the fundamental or theoretical things you're stating. It's basically I like the wide receivers in 3 and 4 a heck of a lot more than I like the running backs. Or that's, but most people do. That's why the ADP lies as it does.
And that's great. What I'm saying is I like the wide receivers in 1 and 2 more than I like the running backs in 1 and 2. And I like them so much more than those running backs that I would take that advantage over the advantage you have at wide receivers at 3 and 4 than I do at running back at 3 and 4.
It's not so much the philosophy that we're arguing here. It's more of the value at the position right now as it stands. I feel like that's something important to say now, because the discussions over the last month and a half, we brought up ADP a lot of times. And I've written a lot of ranking articles on CSDFantasy.com where I'm like, holy crap, you can get this guy in the 8th? Yes, that was a month ago. He is now in the 3rd. And that keeps happening. That's going to keep happening for roughly another month until ADP starts stabilizing. I will not finalize my final rankings until we have a more stable ADP, which usually is end of June. A lot of people have done even more mock drafts, so we know more. But as of now, there's value in doing what Nick says, because it's sigging when everyone's sagging, or whatever you want to call it. Sagging when everyone's sigging. There's value, I believe, in what Matt's saying, because there's, in my opinion, as well as Matt's opinion, there's just so much wide receiver value in 4 and 5 compared to what it is, especially in 2 and 3. I think there's a ton of wide receiver value in 1 and early 2. But in 3...
This also highly depends on where you're drafting in the first round. It really just changes.
And if your league has to start 1 running back or 2. Huge difference. If you're starting 2 running backs, hell yeah, you're drafting 2 running backs early. But a lot of leagues have gone to 1 running back, 2 flex, 2 receiver. So there's the option to just load up on wide receivers. And
if you're top 3 pick, like we said, there's decisions kind of made for you. If you're at the turn, you're probably going running back. But literally that depends entirely on your draft and what they allowed to fall to you.
And that's why I said to start this whole rabbit hole was picks 3 through 8. If I am in those picks, I'm going wide receiver, and then playing from there. And we'll fucking play. It'll be a gamble. It's risky. It's May, June. What month are we in? Dude, Corona's got me all going on. Speaking of, I'm drinking a little Corona right now.
It's August.
August. Let's go. Basketball starting.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off with the weekly topic. Breakout players for 2020. Who will break out in this 2020 season? Players that have not yet hit, maybe, I don't want to say their best season yet, because some players will break out and then have another good season. I'm not saying this will be their best season ever, but they will finally take that leap into fantasy stardom. And I want to start this one off because I've done a lot of articles on this with some players that I believe are primed for a big year. And the first one, I'm going to be, even though I have a Cowboys cap on, I'm going to be a homer with my hometown, Atlanta, Calvin Ridley. 31% of his passes go into the short left. That's fantastic for wide receivers. 15% to the deep right. That's the second best zone to have a lot of targets in. He's 80% catch rate in the short left, meaning that he catches, of those 31%, he catches 80% of those for 8.9 yards per reception. That's a little bit below average, but I'm okay with that when you have such a high catch rate. The basis for a short zone catch rate, the benchmark should be 60%. If you're below that, I don't want to touch you in a draft. But if you're above that, I'm cool. If you're in the 80s, you're a superstar. If you're right, he's right behind. He's at 79% there. I think he's primed for a big year. Julio Jones is still there, demanding attention. And they have no Austin Hooper. Sure, I've said that they love dropping his name, tight end, damn it, from the Ravens.
Hayden Hurst.
Thank you. I've said that they love him, but I believe that Calvin Ridley is about to be one of the absolute best fantasy receivers in 2020. And he's right now actually being drafted almost in that range where he's like, oh, people believe that he's going to break out in the fourth round. And I'm willing to get him as my second wide receiver on my team easily and just ride him and somebody like Kenny Golladay.
I love
no opinions.
Yeah, I mean, Calvin Ridley, I think that's pretty cemented. I think everyone's thinking the same thing. Calvin Ridley about to break out this year. No more Austin Hooper, Hayden Hurst. Todd Gurley might do something, I guess. I don't know. Probably not. He'll be injured by week 5. So, yeah, give me all the Calvin Ridley I can. This is ADP right now.
4th.
Oh, my God. Yeah, give me all the Calvin Ridley. I like that. See,
I wrote all the reasons I thought Ridley would break out last year still apply this year. I thought losing their buddy to New England would open up some more targets for him going from last year. I think Julio is obviously getting older. They're just going to start slowly shifting away. Kind of the exact situation they had before Julio. I'm blanking on his name. Who was his counterpart before?
Roddy White.
Yeah, Roddy White. It's just the same thing. You slowly. No one thought Julio would, take over. It's just a slow, gradual thing. Roddy White to Julio to Calvin Ridley, and the cycle goes forward. So, yeah, I'm totally on board with Calvin Ridley this year.
It's the circle of wide receivers.
The circle of wide receivers.
I will never sing on the show again. So take that in, people, because it will never, ever again happen. My singing voice is terrible.
I liked it.
Travis says he got Calvin Ridley 4.2 in a mock the other day. So I think his ADP will rise. You think it will rise even higher than the 4th? I think that...
it'll depend on your draft, though. Because you're in there with at least 12 people. All it takes is one guy. So I think maybe his overall ADP will rise because I think there'll probably be at least one person come popular draft time that I think there's gonna be a lot of ink on this kid because of all the reasons you said. It makes sense. It's just gonna be out there, and people love a trendy guy, especially last year. Who was it in Tampa Bay? Godwin. People love to find that next Godwin, and it really kind of seems like an obvious target for the people looking for that breakout. So I think that it will rise. So, I mean, if you're an early best ball drafter, get all the Ridley you can, or any kind of early draft, because I think he will be a popular target once the articles start to flow.
I'm really sad to hear that because one of the best things about finding somebody like Godwin was his ADP didn't rise extremely high. Didn't you get him mostly in the 7th, Nick? I know you were super high on him.
Oh, I loved Godwin. I was maybe the biggest fan of Godwin. I definitely reached for him in every draft I was in. Yeah, I don't remember though. Was it 7th, 6th round? To be all honest, I can't remember. Well, how long ago was that? A year?
Although Godwin
like-
didn't quite have the pedigree as Ridley. Ridley was already a popular target even last year. So I think it's just, I think what the thing is, there was a lot of naysayers on Godwin. With Ridley, there's not necessarily going to be anyone doubting him. There'll be people that think that he'll be as good as last year and still better. But then there's some people that think he's. I think the main thing is there's not a lot of red flags, and that's the main thing. He's a trendy guy with not many red flags.
And a superstar quarterback to boot. Who sure he throws interceptions, but I mean, if we compare to James Winston, nobody throws interceptions. Maybe Rivers. Rivers does.
There's a lot of good wide receivers in front of Calvin Ridley. I don't really see him being drafted any higher than his ADP is right now, and I kind of think his ADP is at a peak. I think we're going to see a decrease a little bit. I think we're going to see AJ Brown jump him. I think we're going to see just like once you see Justin Herbert as the starter, Keenan Allen will jump him. Like there's other a bunch of there's more wide receivers that can kind of get in front of him and almost creep him down to the late 4th round than there are in front of him that would where he's just going to jump in OBJ or he's going to jump like the guys that are in front of him. I find it kind of hard. I think everyone will draft Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, Juju Smith-Schuster all over Calvin Ridley. So I don't know. I kind of think he's peaking right now, to be all honest.
I don't think some players will rise on this as well. I'm not at least 2 to 4th. I think Stephon Diggs is going to have that couple of weeks where everybody just starts the Stephon Diggs hype train. I think he's a little forgotten right now. I'm not going to get on that hype train, but I think he's going to rise. I can see Deebo Samuel rising as well. Devontae Parker has the ability to rise, especially if Tua is getting some heat. And somebody who I think can rise on ADP and potentially get up to the 4th if Deshaun Watson gets even bigger is Brandon Cooks.
Wrong guy.
Oh, you think Will Fuller?
Will Fuller. I don't know if it's cheating because literally, didn't he have like the highest game score of any non-quarterback last year? We know what he can do, so I don't know if it's totally a breakout if we mention him. I know you want to talk about Brandon Cooks, which are both, he's probably going to be awesome too. But Will Fuller, I think
at least one of them.
You're only injury prone until you're not. The whole injury prone thing, I think, gets overblown to a degree. But Will Fuller, I will be targeting. It will depend on where the value falls completely, but he is someone that without Deshaun Watson, even with Brandon Cooks there, I think that Will Fuller could much lower floor than Cooks, obviously, but I think his ceiling could literally rival anybody.
Oh yeah, his ceiling is the ceiling. Who said that? I can't remember. What's it?
I say that constantly.
His ceiling is the roof. Who said that?
Booger, probably.
Yeah, oh, that was fantastic. His ceiling is the roof on a summer moonlit rainy night. No, okay, I'm down a rabbit hole of commentators saying weird stuff. But Nicholas Carone joined in and says he's sorry for missing this. But I think Will Fuller's ceiling is just insane. And one of Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks will start rising in ADP and pushing other people down. That's just one of them will be trendy when draft comes, to the point where you can either gamble on one of them early or hope one falls, or you take advantage of them pushing somebody down that you want even more because they're going in the 7th round right now. If they just go up to 6th or the 5th, they can start pushing people down like Cortland Sutton, Terry McLaurin, AJ Green, Tyler Lockett. There's a DJ Shark. There's a bunch of players that they can push down so you can get a little cheaper. And you just assume that Brandon Cooks will get hurt with his head and Will Fuller will tear his hamstring in minute 2 and cost you.
Hey, minute 7.
He's got 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I know. Hey, where do we think of Kenny Stills? Obviously, he's not in this conversation of like mega breakout, but he could be because everyone kept talking about him. But his breakout would require injury, but likely injury, if we both can agree. So where does he fall? Because if 2 guys that are likely to go down, or even if one of them does, you have a full season now with Kenny Stills has kind of a full off season, a half off season. These guys are working out together with Deshaun Watson. I mean, Kenny Stills could be a nice value because he's honestly the healthiest guy on that team.
And he's not getting drafted. So you can get him the last pick of the draft or not even draft him and you pick him up week 1 after Will Fuller tears his hamstring.
Everyone will be up.
Absolutely should be someone that should not go undrafted. You pick him up, if he's nothing, you can cut him, but he's someone I think you hold on to just to see.
Yeah, I agree. The Will Fuller is huge, right? Like Will Fuller is the man. I would love to get Will Fuller in almost every league this year and just ride him for however long he's on that field. I don't know. It might only be 7 minutes, but damn it, it's going to be a fun 7 minutes. So I'm definitely in on Will Fuller. My big wide receivers, though, real quick, are two guys that Carl, you love, man. Deontay Johnson, Mecole Hardman. These two boys are about to literally just break planet Earth, and it's going to be great. DeAndre does it with Big Ben back. Dude, I'm all in on the Pittsburgh Steelers offense this year. I want every share of Juju, James Conner, and Deontay Johnson. And hell, I'll take an Eric Ebron if I have to.
No.
All I'm saying is, I don't know, man. Hey, he'll be productive. He'll be top 50.
Never again.
He won't have 13 touchdowns, that's for sure. But I'm just saying. And then Mecole Hardman. Like Mecole Hardman, even with Sammy Watkins staying, I know that you were predicting he was going to leave, we were all hoping he would for Mecole Hardman, but I still think it's time for Hardman to like really, really break out, and we're going to see double-digit touchdowns by both of them, 1,000 yards by one of them.
You know how Will Fuller got injured mid-7 because he tripped over Sammy Watkins, who was already down.
Yes, that's exactly.
So I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, Hardman, exactly. Yep, I'm not.
So I was speaking earlier about receiving trends, and so if Mecole Hardman catches a pass 15 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, how many yards does he average on those type of passes? Any guesses?
78.
You're pretty close.
I would assume he has a 100% touchdown rate on those.
It's pretty close, but he's on average 42. But if the pass goes to the left, is 66.
Did you just say that did you say he averages 42 yards on a pass 50 yards down the field?
15 yards.
Oh, they said 50.
15 people.
You're like, he's pretty close. It was like 78.
No, but it was on, if the pass goes to the left, is 66 yards per reception. And that's insane for a rookie.
Tyreek Hill 2.0, man. He's coming right up.
Hey, how about we brought up the Devontae Parker last show so much, part of the whole dollar bet thing. What about Preston Williams, who, if you don't believe in Devontae Parker, Preston was a hot commodity last year as far as people being in on him. You know, you have guys that are going to want to rifle the ball. Where do you throw Preston Williams in this conversation?
I love Preston Williams, but I'm not throwing him in this conversation as a breakout player, just for the simple fact that he's got a rookie quarterback. I think that there are.
He doesn't have a rookie quarterback. Am I dollar ready?
No, he does have a rookie quarterback. He'll definitely be too. But then you got Devontae Parker, you got Albert Wilson, you got Mike Gesicki. Like you got a lot of mouths to feed kind of in Miami, and I think Preston Williams, though he was showing a lot of promise, he was hit by the injury bug. I guess I don't know how he is with the coaches. Hopefully he does good. I just ranked him in my official 1.0 PPR rankings I put out, but I'm not drafted him over like Kenny Stills. You know what I mean? And if they're both going undrafted, I can get either one in the last round. Give me Kenny Stills 101 out of 100 times.
So let's.
I don't know. I like these lottery tickets. Like you mentioned, guys like Deontay Johnson, who I do like. I think he does have a lot more to deal with on his own team as far as talent and question marks.
Yeah,
at quarterback. So
you're saying instead of Preston Williams?
No, I like Deontay. I'm just saying you actually have to pay for guys like that. Or Preston, I would say he's a must draft only because especially he shouldn't be undrafted. Is he undrafted? If he is, that's insane.
I doubt Preston Williams is going drafted.
Hey, I think he's undrafted.
Oh, nope. I like
that's crazy.
Oh, 12. So, but wait, I want to hear both of y'all say this. Y'all are actually on board with Deontay Johnson now? You're both excited to draft him? Because it was just I'm 7 episodes ago, I got so much hate for this.
No, I'm excited about him in general, but I probably won't be drafting him because I have extreme questions about what the hell the Steelers are going to be this year. I have no idea what that's going to look like. So I will probably go another direction. I'm not down on him. I could see him. We don't know what Juju's going to do. We don't know what Connor's going to be. I mean, literally, we don't know what that offense is going to be at all. So Deontay Johnson's just a giant question mark. And giant question marks, I'd rather get those. That's the only reason I bring up guys like Preston Williams. If I want a question mark, I want to pay nothing for him.
So but like you say, question mark though, like Deontay Johnson has, even without Big Ben, some of the best receiving trends out there. Like he looks like a prototypical wide receiver. His receiving trends are, I would call them poor man's Michael Thomas. I'm not comparing them in play style, but where they get targets, roughly how many catches they get on these targets and the yards per catch, reminds me of Michael Thomas. And like this is something that I look for, and seeing those things, even with a quarterback that isn't good, like nobody was good for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. If he can produce that with a terrible quarterback, what can he do with an average quarterback? Even if Big Ben isn't fully healthy, he's still going to be average at least. Big Ben's floor to me is average. Like,
no, I don't disagree with any of that. By the way, I like Deontay Johnson and Big Ben. If I had to bet, I'd say he's probably going to have one more solid year in him. The fact is, though, Deontay, if you're using a lot of those trends, you're doing it with Juju not being Juju at all. James Conner not being James Conner at all. If you reasonably expect them to come back and kind of be themselves, you have to expect Deontay Johnson's role to be fairly diminished. That's all. That's what I mean by question mark. I believe in him. I don't know what to make of the Steelers themselves. That's my main concern. It's not him, it's the Steelers.
But then if you assume that James Conner is going to be good and Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be good, or back to themselves, like just if we just assume that real quick, then that offense is fantastic and they're going to be on the field a lot more and score a lot more touchdowns, bringing up the overall numbers, which for me opens up even more for Deontay Johnson. Instead of him having to actually carry anything on his back, he can kind of be the Martavis Bryant or Juju Smith-Schuster to Antonio Brown.
That's exactly.
No, Dick, you can go ahead. I mean, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, and I can see all that happening.
Disagree with me.
I would rather go another direction though, because I guess I believe there's a lot more that can go wrong than go right in that offense. And if he blows up and I'm wrong, that's fine. There's other people around him I'd rather drive in that direction, but I don't disagree with anything you're saying. So I like the narratives of other players in his area.
This is why we're not on ESPN, because if this was ESPN, you would have been like, I do disagree with you, even if you didn't. But you're like, I do agree with your points, and I value your opinion.
I just don't agree with you and wouldn't draft it, is what he's trying to say. Deontay Johnson had, like you said, like 8 touchdowns. Some of the best trends there was with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. I'm pretty sure the risk is pretty much out the door with Deontay Johnson. If you can put in Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph, and this guy can get 8 touchdowns, you put in Ben Roethlisberger or even Chase Daniel, and you'll see this guy get freaking 12 touchdowns. Like, give me.
Can you name the guys, wide receivers, the 4 above, 4 below? Currently, I know the ADP currently is broken, sort of, but who are the wide receivers taking 4 above and 4 below him?
With Deontay?
Yeah, Deontay.
Sanders, Slayton, Edelman, and Gallup, and behind is Judy, Ruggs, Marvin Jones, and Lamb.
Yeah, I like the majority of them more.
And those are all 9th rounders, though. Deontay's an 8. So you can get Deontay 8 and then get your Marvin Jones late or a CeeDee Lamb. You might miss out on Judy or Ruggs, according to the ADP. But
I definitely would rather have Slayton as well. You named a couple there that I was interested in most of.
Those were before, though. So those you got to assume are after. But, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I like Deontay. It's just if I'm sitting there in that range, I just know from looking before, there's a couple of guys there that I'm pretty interested in. It'd be like, not that Deontay's off my board, but I will have a list of 3 people and I'll probably talk myself into someone else. So it's not like I don't want Deontay. It's like, ooh, Darius Slayton's here, or so and so's here. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because that wide receiver spot from like 7 to 10 is, I think, loaded. Like the wide receivers seem loaded from top to bottom almost. It's crazy. You just have to sprinkle in running backs. And another reason why you can draft wide receivers early and then just try to fill up on as many running backs as you can mid, and then go with your Deontay Johnson or Darius Slayton or Marvin Jones or Jerry Jeudy or Henry, all these guys in 8, 9, 10, 11. Like that's McCole Hardman's going 10th round right now. That's a guy I love. Jameson Crowder, 10th round. Like these are wide receivers that can be PPR beasts. They can be top 12. They've all pretty much shown that there's a glimmer that they could be top 12 wide receiver production.
Is this Jamison Crowder's breakout season 2? or is he
Gotta be, right?
like is 26 in PPR? Is that his ceiling? He played 16 games, 122 targets, 78 receptions. Can he finish in the top 20 next year? Like, is that a possibility?
Hold on. Who are we talking about?
Jameson Crowder.
Oh, for some reason, I don't know why. I thought you said Emmanuel Sanders. I thought you were making a joke.
Oh, no.
I'm tough.
Man, 12 wide
Moving on.
boys.
No, Jameson Crowder. Is this his breakout season where he like is honestly like a really, really good fantasy starting wide receiver in PPR? Can he be a top 20, or is it 22, 35 we should expect from him? What do you think, Nick?
There's no one else there, and I've already said that I love Mims, but Jesus, like he's a rookie wide receiver. I have no faith in him. I have no faith in any wide receiver in a Jets uniform other than Jamison Crowder. If it's not his breakout year, I will never, ever, ever, ever say that it'll be his breakout year again, because this is it. If you're ever gonna have a breakout year, it's when it's you and Sammy D. It's you two. That's it. Le'Veon Bell in the back. Like, you three are going to become the new New York trio. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be that right now. If not, then you're screwed. So, do I believe it? I don't know. At top 20?
Jesus. It's rough for me to say that. It's really tough for me, and I like Crowder, but
yeah, I mean,
I think I don't know, breakout. I think this will be his best season ever. People forget. It's more full. He's not a half PPR guy for me. Full PPR, because he's a 20 catches for 20 yards guy. Yeah. But people forget, I mean, just especially if you play DFS, you know how valuable this guy was early in the season with Darnold. Like, he was a beast.
Yep.
At full PPR, a beast. So yeah, with Robbie Anderson now gone in Carolina, absolutely, I think he has the possibility to do that. I don't know if I'd bet on it, but where he's being kind of disrespected ADP wise, I think he's a must own in full PPR.
Just for me to find 25 wide receivers in front of him that I think will finish behind him, I think that's nearly impossible.
Yeah, with the targets, he's gonna come down, because it's not like he's. We're gonna do a couple of comparisons. If we compare him I want to compare him to like somebody like Cole Beasley. It's not gonna be in terms of what type of targets he gets. It's not going to be.
I think it might be Jarvis Landry, Miami.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one. It's not going to be like highly competitive targets. So even though if he gets hammered with 130, most of them are going to be catchable. It's not going to be, one-on-one or into double coverage where Julio makes an incredible catch. No, that's not what he's going to get. He's going to be hammered with, like you say, 20 for 20. And just like, but I don't have anything to do. Jameson, where are you? Crowder. You just keep crowding with targets. Haha. And
yeah, he'll have a 10-point floor because of the receptions alone, and that's his value, his boring value. But where he's going, that's fantastic. I mean, floor, you can't. It's nice to be able to throw a guy in your wide receiver 2 or 3 or a flex that is probably in the bank for 15 points.
Yep,
yeah, and he won me my league last year. Honestly, picked him off of waivers since we had that fantastic with the final in week 17. Picked him off waiver when half my team was injured. He was like, haha, that was convenient. So I have faith in him. I think a top 20 finish. I'm gonna give him 20. 20 is where he finishes. Exactly 20.
That's bold. It's a bold move.
Yeah, but I do think he's gonna be good in a PPR league. He's so much value. A guy who would be more valuable in standard than in PPR. I have DJ Moore, of course, going to be valuable in PPR, but I feel like it's too easy to say him. I think DK Metcalf is going to have a breakout season with some fantastic targeting trends, decent catch rates that I think are going to go up with him being in the league a year longer, good yards per reception, meaning that he gets a lot every time he touches the ball, which is comfortable, and he has maybe the third best quarterback in the league, if not better. You can make a case that Russell Wilson is top 2, in my opinion.
I think his ADP will skyrocket out of a comfort level for me, because the entire industry, this isn't standard ADP yet, but the entire industry has him above Lockett, and on his own team as the wide receiver 1. So I think he's just one of those other ink guys. I think that come when everyone is drafting, he will be being taken out of my comfort zone. I agree he's actually going to be a monster, and he very well could be where you're where you're drafting him, but he's going to be going above like profit potential for me. So he's a guy I'll be out on, I think, once the season rolls around. He's not there yet, but I get the feeling he's someone that is going to be like his ADP is going to just skyrocket.
I would spend up to a 4th rounder on him. Right now he's got 5th round ADP. I think Matt's right. I think he goes up. Obviously, everyone's going to just fall in love with keep falling in love. There's going to be more and more about him for the next couple months. He's going to rise up in ADP. But like in the 4th round, like that you get Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, Robert Woods. All these guys sound a little bit better than DK. But when push comes to shove, I might sit there and think, damn, he does have Russell Wilson. He is going to be better than Tyler Lockett. And being the number 1 wide receiver and being as monstrous as he is on that Seattle offense is never a bad thing. I might just end up taking him. I might reach for him over all these guys, even though right now on paper, I like all these guys more. But come draft time, DK he carries a lot. He carries a lot.
If a draft was today, would you do that?
Today.
Or either of you with either? Because those are some names there. I might take him over Keenan because he's got obvious question marks in his situation. But you named a lot of pretty good wide receivers in that area. I'm not sure there's no way I'm passing on those guys. That's a group.
I know. I think out of that group, honestly, it's I don't know. It's tough. DJ Moore, Robert Woods, AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley. I honestly can't.
You can't. I can't. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can. I'm not saying it couldn't. It's not going to happen. I just couldn't pull the trigger on DK in that group. That's a good group.
The only one I would go DK above is AJ Brown.
Oh, I like me some AJ Brown.
Oh, I love AJ.
I like AJ Brown, but I like DK more. I like DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley more than him, and Robert Woods above Metcalf. But I like Metcalf above Brown. But it's on.
Woof.
It's real tight. That group is so stacked.
If his ADP sat behind them in that next tier, definitely agree 1,000%. I just fear he ends up in that group, and it's kind of my no-fly zone for DK.
See what happens in the 5th round, though. So you wait. He's there. You got DK, T.Y. Hilton, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Lockett, Deebo Samuel, Cortland Sutton, AJ Green. It's a lot of names, but
for sure, it'd be between Sutton and DK for me at that point.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. It's Sutton over DK, and then DK. Sutton should be in the group that we just discussed.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying if we rolled around past that group that we talked about in the last round, my cue is DK and Sutton. And those are the two that I'd be hoping get to me. I'd be happy to get either.
Drew Lock never showed that he was like a beast quarterback, though. Like he doesn't
need that. He doesn't need that. Did Joe Flacco show he was a beast quarterback?
Melvin Gordon and KJ Hamler, plus a bigger role for Noah Fant. And you think just Drew Lock's going to be able to throw 60 passes a game and get 15 or 18 of them to Cortland Sutton? Like he's going to get targets, 6 receptions, and probably between 50 and 80 yards a game, and pepper in a touchdown every 3 or 4 games because it's the Broncos offense who has a lot of names, but a lot of people that but a quarterback who doesn't. I don't think he knows how to handle the Ferrari yet. You gave him the keys, and you gave him the keys to a Volkswagen last year, and you're like, all right, bud, let's see what we can do here. We got Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton. Just do all right with it. And he did all right. And it was like, okay, cool. And now here's a Ferrari. And just go out there and drive. And it doesn't work like that. I think Cortland Sutton's a great wide receiver. I think this all could work out if they had a better coach, honestly. But I don't think their team is set for success. I'm trying to avoid every Denver Bronco there is, except for maybe Melvin Gordon. Other than that, no. Like AJ Brown, I don't know if you saw him last year, but he was pretty good. I don't know if you noticed, but he was all right. And I'm going to think he continues that, maybe not to the degree of 200 yards per game, but I think he's going to continue his success as long as Derrick Henry's healthy. And
Nick, you're saying you were disagreeing with him that he said that he should be included in that group we were talking about. I think his ADP around later is completely fair. You're saying you're avoiding Denver players. If you went past that group and DK is gone, you're not still even with the red flags you're trying to point out, you're not excited to grab Sutton, because I do think even him with the risk you're talking about is well worth taking the following round if he's hanging there.
I don't know. So I would rather have Deebo Samuel, Tyler Lockett over him, both of them. But I'd like then you get behind him AJ Green, DJ Shark, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Parker, Marquise Brown. Hopefully I'm not stuck in this position, but like gun to my head, gotta pick who I think is going to be the best. Actually, I'm just not looking behind them. Jarvis Landry, Brandon Cooks. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't probably take. I don't know. I wouldn't want to take Sutton there. No, I wouldn't. I would rather take a shot in AJ Green or a shot in Terry McLaurin over Cortland Sutton.
I'm gonna stick my gun. I'm gonna stick to my guns and keep pounding the Cortland Sutton hype train. I think he's gonna get 9 to 10 targets each game. Travis in the chat talks about the splits between Flacco and Drew Lock isn't that good, and I do agree with that. He did take a step back with Lock throwing the ball, but he got more targets, which is positive, and he averaged more yards per completion in.
I have a dollar bet I want to make with you about Sutton.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. And I like Sutton, so this is more about me loving another player. $1, same as Nick. $1 to you. You get Sutton, and I get Darius Slayton. No odds. I'll just take Slayton straight up against Sutton.
Slayton versus Sutton PPR.
Yep.
Most points.
On this, let me throw a receiver in here.
End of the year.
This is more. Again, I love Sutton. I was just defending him, but Darius Slayton, we glanced over him earlier, and I want to just bring him up. I think he is in for a monster season, especially with Evan Engram never quite available. I mean, he doesn't really have a lot of threatening talent downfield, and I think year 2 of Daniel Jones, I think it's the Darius Slayton show. And if you're looking for like best value, like not the biggest, maybe the biggest breakout, but like value from where you're getting him, someone who could jettison him up into superstardom, Darius Slayton, I think my guy.
I actually do like Slayton a lot, though. I will agree with you there. And there's like 3 rounds between them, so the value you get for Slayton is just fantastic. But yeah. I do think that Sutton finishes higher, but I think you're going to get a butt ton of value if you draft Darius Slayton. Nick, what did you want to? Yeah, the bet.
Wait, did you take? Wait. What'd you say?
I took the bet. Did you have another one for me?
No, I don't need to. No. I was just like.
I thought you were gonna throw a wide receiver. Make this a $3 bet.
I will. Yeah, exactly. All right, I'll throw a wide receiver from the round that he just picked from too. I'll go 8th round because I was looking at a guy that we were it's the round after that we talked about, and I mentioned a couple times. I'll say Marvin Jones in this mix has more than Cortland Sutton, and I can't remember who you were just talking about, Darius Slayton. Who, by the way, I love Darius Slayton. I want every second-year wide receiver known to man this year.
N'Keal Harry. Hey, well, the thing you brought up Marvin Jones, it's interesting. Hold on, we can talk. You seemed excited to talk about N'Keal Harry. We want to say you brought up Marvin Jones. You said that you thought Kenny Golladay was a legit, maybe first-round talent. So I'm just wondering. I like them both. I know you're not being a homer because you usually are not, but like you like Golladay and Jones that much. You think that Stafford is going to be, especially given the fact that they drafted Swift, they still have Carrion and Swift, and they still have TJ Amendola. Like, you think there's going to be enough, like, you think there's enough bullets in Stafford's gun that's going to reach both of these guys to reach your thoughts? I mean, it's, that's a lot of, if you think Galladay's a first rounder, that doesn't necessarily leave a lot for Jones to be able to step up, from the 8th round to, be in this area we're talking about.
I disagree. I mean, last year they both led the league in touchdowns in week 8. I mean, while Matt Stafford was healthy, they were the 2 leading wide receivers in the entire NFL in touchdowns.
You don't think they're going to try to use the running backs more?
No, I think it'll be you tried to use Carrion and Bo Scarborough and any running back, Ty Johnson. It doesn't matter who it was. They tried to throw dudes back there. They tried to run a lot last year as well. Their defense wasn't good enough to allow them to do it. I think that's going to be the case this year. And I think DeAndre Swift is very good, but he's also a very good pass-catching running back. And I think that's only going to help Matt Stafford maybe take away a little bit from Marvin Jones. But that's not Marvin Jones' style. He's not taking away from Marvin Jones, DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift will be taken away from, like, Amendola. Hawkinson will expand a little bit more, like I said, with Noah Fant in Denver. Amendola should not expand. I think we saw the ceiling of his Detroit stats last year, especially with the amount of injuries that occurred, and the quarterbacks that came in. Matt Stafford is not a guy who's just going to check down Amendola all the time. He'll get a couple receptions every game, that's for sure. We saw in Arizona he had a pretty big touchdown, but that was about it until like week 4 or 5. So no, I'm not worried about the weapons around him. As a Lions fan, I think we have the best offense since probably the greatest show on turf. And because of that, I think Marvin Jones could easily get double-digit touchdowns and 1,000 yards, along with Kenny Galladay's double-digit touchdowns and 1,400 yards. Yeah, I truly do. Because it's
I like them both, by the way. So I wasn't even shooting it down. I fear Galladay may be overdrafted. Not overdrafted. That's wrong. I think that there'll always be one guy that drafts him just earlier than I think he'll go in the drafts I'll do, especially industry drafts. There'll be that one guy all right, I'll grab Galladay next time, and then he'll go the pick after me, and I'll be super pissed. That's how I think it'll go for me on Galladay. I'll have no shares because there's always be that one guy who denies me. But Marvin Jones, I will be trying to get shares of for sure.
Yeah, I like Marvin Jones. I love me kind of Galladay. Watch his highlights last year. This dude's a number one. And he's fantastic. 26-27. That's like the best year for wide receivers. When you hit the ages of 26 to 28, 29, those are your peak seasons, your prime seasons. So Kenny's just getting the mix of it. Stafford is maybe the best deep ball thrower in the NFL. Actually, probably is. But there's a couple arguments that can be made by other people, I assume. But we all know it's Matt Stafford. And because of that, that's what Marvin Jones does best. We all remember him making the Vikings look like middle schoolers. He's a beast. Kenny Galladay is a beast. He makes everyone look like elementary school players. So I'm all about both of the wide receivers. Not just biased. Not saying that the Lions go out there and win 10 games. They could easily win 6 games, 7 games. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I think their offense is going to be elite and the defense is going to be piss poor.
Add that before we end the show, one of the absolute worst leagues when it comes to defending the pass or defending especially passes against wide receivers is the NFC North. They gave up so many points to wide receivers last year. That includes the Lions, of course, and they were piss poor. But the Chicago Bears aren't like a dominating defense when it comes to wide receivers. The Packers aren't dominating against wide receivers. And the Minnesota Vikings aren't dominating against wide receivers. There will be wide receiver points scored in the NFC North next year.
Can I start a fist fight real quick? I think the Cowboys have a better offense than the Lions.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, everybody thinks
you said the greatest show on turf of the Lions. To our friends sitting in the chat with us, though, the Cowboys have, again, Mike McCarthy. I'm even with Mike McCarthy they're a scary team.
Yeah.
Like, if they actually use all 3 wide receivers, their tight ends, Pollard, Zeke, that's a lot of weapons, man. That's a lot of weapons.
40 burgers coming every week. 40 points. Winning 40-38.
I can see it if Dak isn't thinking of other things. And we all like to think, oh, he's ahead in the game. He's a professional. He's going to be just all right. No, that's a lot of money.
Don't worry about it. Dak.
He can throw the ball straight up in the air, and someone very talented in a Cowboys uniform can catch it. That's how many there are on the field.
That's true. The offensive line. That's what I was going to say. The offensive line is still very, very good, one of the best, and the Lions' offensive line is one of the worst. So
watch when Dak signs here in a few days, because it's about to be a big hole in his wallet. He just announced that he's donating $1 million today. That's a big chunk of what he's made. He hasn't made that much in the NFL yet. He's taking that money. He's taking the money that's on the table. You're not donating $1 million. That's like what is that? A quarter of what he made last year before taxes. You don't just give that away unless you have money coming in real soon.
I'm pretty sure he's got enough sponsorships. He's making more than $800,000 he's supposed to be making.
I don't want to take anything. I don't want to nitpick. Oh, he's got plenty of money. Percentage-wise, he's one of the most generous athletes there are. I mean, you got the MLB owners that don't even want to pay $400 a week to their minor leaguers, and these guys are quite literally billionaires. It's like me and you dropping a tenth of a penny on the ground.
Yeah, and Dak's just handing out money, and does so much for the community that I think he deserves a big payday. I think he's getting it. I think he's gonna sign. I'm just biased too. I just want him to sign. I love the guy.
We'll see.
I love the guy as much as I love this show. I love Dak Prescott, and I love this show a lot.
I love Nick's hat.
I wish we could see you, Matt. For everybody who's listening,
this is me. I'm the living force.
The living force. He actually has a coin now instead of his face.
Turn into the coin.
I need we need to find someone Photoshop skills to make like a nickel or something, but with like chiseled like my face onto it. It would be fantastic.
I might can fix that.
Only gonna take about 3 for that.
I'll see what I can do, but I want to thank both y'all for joining me here today. I will be off for a few days, so it won't be any content on CSD Fantasy or on the YouTube channel. This show will have to last you until Monday, and then we'll be back again next Wednesday with another show. But this has been the NFL Fantasy Rabbit Hole podcast. Signing off is Nick Faber, Matt Williams, and CSD Fantasy. See y'all next time.
You can't see me, but I'm giving you all finger pistols. Have a good day.